What's most important to you, logic or intuition? If you're like me, you'd say logic. For years, I wore that like a badge of honor. I was so proud that I was so logical and that was the number one thing driving my life, because I assumed that knowledge and logic was the best path to take if I wanted to live the best, most fulfilling life. Because who needs intuition when you have a supercomputer in your pocket that has all the answers to all the questions you could ever have? As I mentioned in my last video, for years I was obsessed with being right, with doing the correct thing logically. Because I believed that knowledge and critical thought and logic would never lead you down the wrong path. But it turns out that some of the most intelligent people that have ever lived on this earth would disagree. For one, Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein is quoted saying, "The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift." And that's not just a one-off quote. There are multiple other places where he's quoted saying similar things, like, "Innovation is not the product of logical thought, even though the final product is tied to a logical structure." And another one is, "Through purely logical thinking, we can attain no knowledge whatsoever of the empirical world." These three quotes from Albert Einstein, one of the world's leading intellectual people, epitomizes the argument made by an author and psychiatrist and philosopher named Iain McGilchrist. Ian's book, The Master and His Emissary, is a book explaining the difference between the two hemispheres of our brain and the utility of each. It's generally understood that the left side of the brain is methodical and precise and specific and detail-oriented. The right hemisphere is more creative and imaginative, and it cares more about the big picture, or what some people call the gestalt of something, which is a fancy word for saying that there is a big picture that is more than the sum of its parts. And I really think that that's ultimately one of the biggest strengths of the left hemisphere. But anyways, it's generally understood that that is correct. And for the sake of argument today, I'm going to drastically oversimplify the two hemispheres by saying that the left side of the brain is logical and the right side of the brain is intuitive. And another way of saying this that links back to my video last week is that the left cares more about knowledge and the right cares more about wisdom. Whew, here comes the clouds. Whew, it got really cold. I'm gonna move. So McGilchrist's fundamental argument, and Einstein seems to agree, is that the left side of the brain, the logical side, that was never meant to be the lead. The right side is meant to be the leader. And in today's society, we favor the left hemisphere dramatically. All we care about is knowledge and logic and the details. We fail to see the gestalt of something. We fail to see the big picture and our intuitive understanding of the world. And it's not just Einstein and McGilchrist that talk about this. There are multiple Nobel Prize winning scientists that also say the same thing. Richard Feynman is a Nobel Prize winning physicist, and he spoke of the importance of using his imagination and his intuitive understanding of nature to make the discoveries that he made. Marie Curie cited intuitive insight as the thing that shaped her perseverance and willingness to challenge conventional wisdom. I mean, find someone better than Marie Curie that is a better example of creative, intuitive challenging of conventional wisdom. Like, she went against everything, all based on intuition, according to her. At the end of the day, though, I don't think that we should be letting one hemisphere completely dominate the other. With that said, I do think that McGilchrist and Einstein and Curie, they all have valid points. They all make the point that innovation and discovery and just decision making in life in general should be led by the intuitive mind. Before I wrap up, I want to read a quote from Ian McGilchrist that I think sums up what I'm trying to say, because I've been convinced by his argument. And anyways, the quote is, "Our talent for division, for seeing parts, is of staggering importance, second only to our capacity to transcend it in order to see the whole." For me personally, during that time of my life where I was favoring knowledge over any bit of intuition, I created neurological pathways that completely avoided the intuitive process that should be a vital part. Whether or not it dominates, that's up to you. I think everyone can approach this in a unique way. But what I think is interesting is that these incredibly intellectual and intelligent people understand the vital role that the intuition plays in their mind and in society as a whole. I think this links directly back to the video I made last week where I was talking about wisdom and knowledge, where I think the right hemisphere is worried more about the wisdom, about the big picture, and the left hemisphere is worried more about the logical side of the details. And so in my mind, and based off of the quote that I just read from Ian McGilchrist, it would appear that the most important thing we can do is lead with wisdom, lead with intuition, but never forget that it is important to check that with the logical part of the right hemisphere. I hope that made sense, and I'm sure I switched up left and right. That was really hard to keep them straight. But anyways, if that was interesting, or if you have a differing opinion or something, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. But anyways, we'll catch you in the next video.